One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Hello, good evening. Yes, I decided to do a show. I wasn't planning on doing a show. I was like, the hell with it. I am so sick and tired of all the whining, the commiserating, the whole misery loves company type attitude I've been seeing everywhere. Everywhere. Some of the most popular people on Facebook, on X, on YouTube are all crying. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm done. I'm not dealing with this crap. Not going to happen. If people don't like it, too flippin' bad. Life is too good. Much too good. A bunch of people lost their lives this past weekend in Texas over, the storm that happened. Barring people losing their lives in a situation like that, I don't see anything to be upset about. Robin and I, our lives are going fantastic. We put an offer in on a investment property today. We're moving forward. I put another order in with Lear Capital. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying that President Trump has provided so much opportunity that I'm just going to be focused on what's positive. So much good. Why are people focusing on the negative? You may be wondering. I'm going to tell you why. You may not like, in fact, somebody called me on X and said, you're so far up Trump's butt, it's obnoxious or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm up Barry's butt. I hate to tell you that, but the person I'm most concerned with is what I do for my wife and my family. That's whose butt I'm up. And I'm thinking, President Trump, you're doing it for us. You're providing everything we need if we just block out the BS. You see, I think you need somebody who, after what we've seen today, I think you need someone to tell you, hey man, that doesn't concern me right now. And again, before the naysayers come in, because they will, I'm not saying that it's not important that we find out what happened to those girls or boys. I'm not saying that it's not horrific and heinous. I'm saying I'm not the person to do the investigation, and you're not the person to do the investigation, and the people that President Trump has put in charge, he's quite happy with them for now. I may have to bounce and cover Bibi Netanyahu's visit to the White House, so if that may happen. I've got the feed up and running in case he goes into the White House and does a sit down like he normally does with leaders. I will cut to that and we will talk about it. But in the interim, what made me do a show tonight? After I threw my hands up and went, I'm done with these people. I'm seriously done with everything. And I thought to myself, you're going to need some sort of a sign. I don't know if it was because we had a prayer meeting this morning, but you're going to need some sort of a sign to make you feel better about the craziness that's permeating out through MAGA world. Craziness. You would think by looking at MAGA today that we lost the election. You would think by looking at MAGA today that the world is imploding and there's nothing good to be had. Which is far from that. Far, far, far from that. And so I don't understand and hadn't understand today why people were reacting the way they did. And then, what time was it? And then at about 4:30, it's like it all was revealed. And President Trump posted, in case you haven't seen it, I'm going to show it to you. And I want you to look at it with an objective mind and realize what you're looking at and why he may have posted this at 4:30 today. He dropped this out of the blue. The FBI, under the direction of Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, is back to the basics, locking up criminals and cleaning up America's streets. We have the greatest law enforcement professionals in the world, but politics and corrupt leadership often prevented them from doing their job. That is no longer the case, and now they have been unleashed to do their jobs, and they are doing just that. Keep it up, make America safe again. And he links to an article on the Federalist from June 16th of 2025. You know, when I interviewed General Michael Flynn, one of the things he said, and I hope you guys take it to being true, is that President Trump monitors what's being said on social media. President Trump understands if there's a whole lot of stuff being said, maybe I need to step in with something. And he let it go all day long. And he dropped that, which I took to mean, y'all need to just shut the F up. You have no idea what my peeps are doing. None. I have unleashed them. I have unleashed the dogs to bring back law and order. And they're doing it the right way. I don't have insider knowledge, and none of the idiots running around, and I will say idiots because of what's been happening today, they don't know what's going on. Excuse me. I shouldn't say idiots. Good people. Probably mean very well. But they're stirring up poop. They're just out there stirring stuff up. And President Trump very, very, very calmly steps in at 4:30 and says, enough. Enough. Stop questioning me. Because if you're questioning them, you're actually questioning me. And he just told you, after everything he's heard all day, blah, 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 chill. Absolutely chill. It's no longer the case, whatever you knew from before. Right now, they have been unleashed to do their jobs and are doing just that. So then you say, okay, so if President Trump is letting everybody know, I got this. You hired me. I'm the one you elected, not Joe Blow on X, not Freddie Smith on X, not Jill Simpson on X. You elected me. I got this. pump your brakes. Now, I hope you recognize that's exactly what happened. I got nothing else to tell you right now. I'm going to just tell you, we got this. There's a reason, and I hate disclosing things like this because I did it with the Miami Dolphins when I was covering them. And I said, there's a reason why people are talking right now. And some of you are going to be shocked when you see the reason why people are talking. You've heard the term, when it bleeds, it leads. Meaning, you know, there's a sensational story, an accident happened, somebody died. People clamor to see what the heck's going on. Well, it happens in social media too. And we all know it. We all get the data. We all see the data. Those of us who are in the business understand, oh, this is, they're all going to be clamoring for here. I'm going to get some eyeballs. I'm going to get some clicks, i.e., I'm going to make some money. Because let you not think for an instant that it's not about making money. It's always about making money with anyone who's got any size community or audience. There is always an advertiser looking to get in front of somebody's audience. So if you look at it from that perspective, you have to understand that nobody's posting, nobody's making videos, nobody's doing any of that crap, except for the fact it's their job. Now, I don't ever discourage anybody from making money. That's what President Trump has told us. Get on this rocket ship, we're about to take off. What I do have a problem with is the disingenuousness of how it's approached. By fanning the flames of craziness, it's very profitable. It's extremely profitable to fan the flames that drive people crazy. Barry, how can you possibly know this? I just told you. We have the data. So let me show you. Let me just show you how that data is compiled so you can now forever know when it feels like people are talking about a whole lot of stuff, they're talking about it because they know it can make money. I'm not against people making money. I just think you should know what the heck is going on. So there's a site, and let me pull it up here so you can see it. This site is called Google Trends. It tells you specifically what people are looking for. What are they interested in hearing today? How much do these people want to hear about a certain subject? And in what time frame do they want to hear it? So here are the subjects I've got up here. This is Donald Trump. This is Epstein. This is Epstein files. This is the big, beautiful bill. And, okay, let me make it big so I can see it. Maybe I can show you guys. All right, so, hold on. Make it bigger so I can slide it over so you guys can see. All right, so these are the terms. What? Donald Trump, Epstein, Epstein files, big beautiful bill, and Epstein list. Those are the terms I put in. And each one, as you notice, has a color-coded dot. The Donald Trump term is a blue color. Let me move that over so you can see. That's blue. Epstein by itself is red. Epstein files is yellow. Big beautiful bill is Epstein's list. Now, what Google will tell you is who wants to hear what. And then you can actually do the subject matter down here. You can say, I just want to see what people in the United States are thinking. This was how long, what's the time frame, the past day. This is all categories. And then look here, YouTube search. What are people searching for on YouTube in the past day? I've told you, there's data for anything. Everything I want to find out about any potential segment of an audience, I can find it. And then when you see it, what ends up happening, you see the color codes. you can see what's most important to people. You see that? Notice what's in red. The red thing is what people are most interested in hearing about today. The yellow down below is Epstein files. Nobody wants to hear about the Epstein files. The purple is Epstein list. Nobody wants to really hear about Epstein's list. And then the other two are Donald Trump, and the one in the green is the big beautiful bill, and in the red, way high, is everything Epstein. You think it's by accident that people started talking about Epstein a lot today? That was, let's see, that was in the past day. Let me check the past 4 hours. You can see here, I can pick last 4 hours. What do the numbers look like there? Boom! Everybody's talking about Epstein. More so than Trump, the big beautiful bill, everything. If you don't know that you're the mark in the room, you're the mark in the room. Rather than talk about stuff that really matters to you, that really it can improve your life, people are seeing the data and going, hey, everybody wants to talk about the Epstein list because something didn't happen today. Let's talk about the Epstein list and cause a big, uprising. Instead of concentrating on the stuff that, makes sense. Regards the president that you elected. I don't know. Maybe perhaps now that you know, you can figure out why things get talked about en masse the way they do. Because everybody knows there's eyeballs. Everybody wants to hear about Epstein. Let's talk about Epstein. And so they disregard what's best for the country. They disregard what's best in regards to Donald Trump. And they disregard what's best for you. Because it's all about eyeballs. And I don't know how to explain it any clearer than Google can just show you the data. Oh, here's what everyone's eyeballs are looking for. Yeah, let's give them the red meat. It's simple. This business that we've chosen here is not a hard game to do. But you have to realize if you're going to build a community, one, you got to be honest with them. You have to be honest with them. Two, you have to make sure that you're giving them what they specifically want, even if it's not good for them. It's sort of like inviting everybody over for a dinner and giving everybody a bunch of fried food, even though you know, well, yeah, he shouldn't be eating this. Oh, we're going to serve pie? Yeah, but you know what? Everybody likes pie. No, but he shouldn't be eating it. He might be a diabetic. He looks like he's over, but let's serve the pie. Why? Because, we'll get more people to come to the party. I choose not to do that. I choose to talk about President Trump. I choose to talk about news that's good for the country. And I think news that's good for you. That's my choice. So in that regard, until President Trump comes on, here's what's scheduled up tonight.
Monica Page here, White House correspondent for Frontlines with Turning Point outside the White House, where President Trump is expected to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tonight for dinner and a meeting discussing post-war plans in the Middle East. Of course, this is the third time the Israeli Prime Minister is meeting with President Trump and comes just after President Trump with the U.S. military, quote, completely obliterated, end quote, the Iranian nuclear facilities in the Middle East.
This will be a dinner to talk about Operation Midnight Hammer, which was incredibly successful, to talk about peace in Gaza and ending that conflict, as well as many other topics of discussion in relation to Israel and the United States.
So a lot of eyes will be on this meeting. Before the dinner and meeting tonight, we understand that Israeli Prime Minister is meeting with the Trump administration officials at the Blair House. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu got into D.C., arriving around 1 a.m. Eastern time, local time here in Washington, D.C. So it's going to be a very long day of meetings and discussions, discussing post-war plans, what kind of of leadership does the United States want to see when it comes to the Middle East, when it comes to the Gazan region? What kind of leadership does Israel want to see specifically? And also discussing that 60-day ceasefire, that 60-day truce deal that is currently on the table, waiting for Hamas to accept. Of course, we understand it's around 10 live Israeli hostages and 18 deceased Israeli hostages in the region. As we know right now, tons of road closures around the White House. They are expecting plenty of protesters protesting Netanyahu's visit here and meeting with President Trump.
No more hate! No more hate! Israel is a terrorist state! Israel is a terrorist state!
Again, like I said, all eyes will be on this meeting.
Israel is a racist state!
All right, the protesters are out en masse. Yeah, about all 20 of them. But in any event, we're waiting on President Trump and Bibi Netanyahu. If they show it, they may not show it. We'll see. But if they do show it, I've got the feed ready and ready to rumble with it. But in any event, speaking of ready to rumble, this will not be a jump over evening because I wasn't going to even go live. I just wanted to jump on and talk to you guys. So in that vein of looking at stuff positive, because that's what I want to do, especially after this morning, is have positive information for you. Here's some.
Newt, I would say this is Trump's triumph. Right out of your book, you were a good leading indicator on this. You got the book out before he signed the bill. But this is quite remarkable, and chances are his successes are going to continue. Like I say, I'm taking the over on this bet. What say you?
Well, I mean, first of all, the idea that he could get one bill and could get it through the Senate and the House and signed by July 4th, I think if you'd offered that bet back in January, you'd have a lot of people betting against you. And it's a sign of Trump's vision and of his ability as a closer and as a communicator. He's also set the stage now for Congress to come back and start a 4 or 5 year project of actually balancing the budget, starting with economic growth. Because as you know, as well as anybody in the country, you get this economy roaring. The sheer scale of wealth of people who go to work, get better salaries, have better dividends, all those things create a wave of revenue that changes every factor that's currently being put on. So I think he's on the edge of a huge long-term triumph. I think that he's got a lot of things he's got to solve still. But nonetheless, this is a remarkable couple of weeks. And as you point out, when you take all the different pieces of the last 2 weeks, I don't remember any time recently having had a president have that many successes simultaneously in a 14-day period.
Yeah, well, I think it is quite remarkable, and that's why I'm taking the over, because I think these successes are going to continue. And the Democrats.
It said it all. I'm taking the over. The successes are going to continue. Newt Gingrich, who's been around a long time, just said it. I haven't seen a president notch up this many successes in a row in like forever. But you wouldn't know that from today. You would think that somehow the president has been failing. He's talking about building prosperity and wealth. That's exactly what Newt Gingrich said. And yet we've got people talking about this other stuff. And I'm so happy President Trump came out and said, I got this taken care of. I got my peeps on it. I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to continue moving forward. Looks like we're getting an updated feed. Hold on, getting an updated feed from the White House here. They're all walking into the room. Let me go ahead and show this to you so you guys can see it at the same time. But, everybody's walking into the room. All right, let's just take a listen in to see what President Trump has to say here.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor to have Bibi and Sarah with us, friends of mine for a long time, and we had a tremendous success together. And I think it will only go on to be even greater success in the future. So it's really nice to have you at the White House. It's nothing like the White House, and it's great to have you both and all of your wonderful people, Ron. We've worked together for a long time, and we've done well together. We had a great We had a great time. I would say it's a lot of work, but we had a great result recently. And we're going to have a lot of great results. So it's great to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to express the appreciation and admiration, not only of all Israelis, but of the Jewish people and many, many admirers around the world for your leadership of the free world, your leadership of a just cause, and the pursuit of peace and security, which you are leading in many lands, but now especially in the Middle East. We have great opportunities. The President has an extraordinary team, and I think our teams together make an extraordinary combination to meet challenges and seize opportunities. But the President has already realized great opportunities. He forged the Abraham Accords. He's forging peace as we speak in one country and one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, Bibi.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. It's a great honor. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
President, have you spoken with any of the families of the victims of Texas flood? And can you talk about what you would like to do when you travel there on Friday?
Well, we're going to just make it as comfortable as possible for the state of Texas. They have a great governor. They have wonderful senators. They have wonderful representatives, and we're going to work together with them. And we have been working really very hard. This whole table has been working. That was a terrible event. Terrible event. You saw that, baby, where Texas was just absolutely so badly hurt by something that was a big surprise late in the evening. So we'll be working with the governor and all of the people of Texas. We'll be going on Friday.
Mr. President, there was a security incident in northern Gaza today, right around the time that the Prime Minister was meeting with Secretary of State, Mr. Steve Witkoff. Does that, and a number of IDF soldiers reportedly have been injured, possibly killed, does that in any way put a wrinkle in ceasefire negotiations with Hamas?
I don't think so. They want it. They want to meet and they want to have that ceasefire. So I don't think so. Steve, could you respond to this? You know about it?
Well, I think it's terribly unfortunate. Terribly unfortunate. We were just talking about it, how tragic it is, but we have an opportunity to finally get a peace deal, Mr. Prime Minister, as we discussed, and I'm hopeful for it very quickly.
Mr. President,
More or less final offer. Look, we're always subject to negotiate something that's fair, but we've talked to most of the countries, and pretty much they've had their way for many, many decades, as you know. And it was time that we just wanted fairness. This is not really equitable from our standpoint because it's just a small token by comparison to the damage that's been done over the years. But we had no other president that was willing to do this. I did it in my first term with China and others. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs. No inflation, the most successful period of time that we've ever had financially in the country. The first term. I think this term is going to be much better, even much better than that. That was the best ever, and this is going to be, I think, substantially better. And we're on the way to doing that. We've already taken in over $100 billion worth of tariffs, and we haven't even started. And all I say to the other countries is, you know, some of them wanted to make a deal and want to be fair. Others perhaps got a little bit spoiled. They were a little bit spoiled because for 30, 40 years, 50 years, they were taking advantage of the country. So we're going to, I would say final, but if they call with a different offer and if I like it, we'll do it. I would say firm. No, I would say firm, but not 100% firm. If they call up and they say, would like to do something a different way, we're going to be open to that. But essentially, that's the way it is right now, yeah.
Mr. President, is your Palestinian relocation plan still on the table? Is there a plan? Has there been any progress in finding countries?
Yeah, Bibi, why don't I let you answer that question?
Mr. President,
wait a minute. Wait, he's got to answer the question.
I think President Trump had a brilliant vision. It's called free choice. You know, if people want to stay, they can stay. But if they want to leave, they should be able to leave. It shouldn't be a prison. It should be an open place and give people a free choice. We're working with the United States very closely about finding countries that will seek to realize what they always say, that they want to give the Palestinians a better future, and those who, and I think we're getting close to finding several countries, and I think this will give, again, the freedom to choose. Palestinians should have it, and I hope that we can secure it close by.
And we've had great cooperation from surrounding Israel, surrounding countries, great cooperation from every single one of them. So something good will happen. Brian, did you have something?
Mr. President, you've mentioned before you want to go down as your legacy as the peacemaker. Are we in the last chapter of closing out peace amongst this conflict now and all the other ones that you're working on?
Well, I hope so. Look, we did a job with India and Pakistan and Serbia, Kosovo, and Rwanda and the Congo, and this was all over the last 3 weeks or so, Marco, right? We did, and others that were ready to fight, and we stopped a lot of fights. I think a very big one, frankly, a very, very big one was India and Pakistan, and we stopped that over trade. We're dealing with India and we're dealing with Pakistan, and we say we're not going to be dealing with you at all if you're going to fight. And they were maybe at a nuclear stage. They're both, nuclear powers. And I think stopping that was very important. We're trying to help out with a Biden-created monster, this whole thing that's happening with Russia and Ukraine. It's a horrible thing, and I'm not happy with President Putin at all. But this is something that would have never happened if I were president. This was a war that was never going to happen. Go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say, how would you address your critics that in the election they said that you would cause the next World War III, when in fact you're solving all the problems?
I'm stopping wars. And I hate to see people killed. Like, as an example, Ukraine and Russia, they're not Americans there being killed. They're not Israeli that are being killed. These are all Russians and all Ukrainians, but it's 5,000, maybe 7,000 last week, 7,500 last week, mostly soldiers, but people in towns and cities that are getting hit, but mostly death is mostly soldiers. Now, so they don't come from here, but it's 7,000 last week souls. And if I can stop that, they have parents and they have sisters and brothers and getting married, and who knows, they're just people, but they're souls. And if I can stop a war, because I have an ability to do so, I'm disappointed, frankly, that President Putin hasn't stopped. I'm not happy about it either.
Mr. President, on the Iran talks, can you say if you've scheduled the next round of Iran talks, and then also on strike?
We have scheduled Iran talks, and they want to talk. They took a big drubbing, I think, when we hit the three sites, really. I would say the three sites, not just the one. The one was a big one, and it was deep in granite, and it was obliterated. It turned out the Atomic Energy Commission said it is obliterated. I would just want to take our hats off to those incredible flyers, the people that flew that big machine, and frankly, the mechanics and everybody else. I mean, they had zero. They flew for 37 hours with zero problem mechanically. I mean, when you think in carrying the biggest bombs ever, the biggest bombs that we've ever dropped on anybody, when you think non-nuclear, and we want to keep it non-nuclear, by the way. But they did a phenomenal job. It was an amazing job. And I think that was, I was talking to Bibi about it before, that was the very beginning of the end. It ended very quickly after that. I don't want to say what it reminded me of, but if you go back a long time ago, it reminded people of a certain other event, and Harry Truman's picture is now in the lobby, in a nice location in the lobby where it should have been, but that stopped a lot of fighting, and this stopped a lot of fighting. When that happened, it was a whole different ballgame.
On future strikes, what might make you have the desire to do another strike on Iran?
Another what?
Another strike on Iran.
I hope we're not going to have to do that. I can't imagine wanting to do that. I can't imagine them wanting to do it. They want to meet. They want to meet. They want to work something out. No, they're different. They're very different now than they were 2 weeks ago.
Is there a date yet
Well, I can tell you, I'd rather not say, but you'll be reading about it tomorrow or seeing it tomorrow.
Mr. President, what is the holdup currently in a ceasefire with Hamas?
In which?
In a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, what's currently the holdup?
I don't think there is a holdup. I don't think there's a holdup. I think things are going along very well. They just, left each other, and it was not a pleasant period of a few days. It was a little longer than a few days, but this was not a pleasant period of time. And, we were, at the end, 14 missiles were shot, and every single missile was shot out of the air. It was pretty amazing. And that was sort of the end. And they told us they were coming and where they were and what time they were coming. And they said, if you'd like to have a different time, we'll do that. And that's respect when they do that. I appreciated that they did that. There was no surprise. We got the soldiers out of the base in Qatar, in this case. But they knew they were coming. 14 missiles were coming. 1 o'clock, they said, would you like to make it later? I said, no, let them come at 1 o'clock. And at 1 o'clock, everybody was, as you know, over 5,000 people left the base. And we had 3 gunners and 3 assistants. And out of the 14 that were shot, all 14 were knocked down. And that was the end. That was about it. And we had a rough time. But sometimes you need the rough time in order to get. I think things are going to be really settled down a lot in the Middle East. And they respect us, and they respect Israel. They respect a lot of things that took place. Nobody's ever seen equipment like what we sent over to knock out those sites. But when those sites were knocked out, it essentially, that was the end.
Do you think that there can be a two-state solution that creates an independent?
I don't know. I'd ask Bibi that question. You have the greatest man in the world to answer that age-old question, two-state. Go ahead. You give him your honest answer.
I think Palestinians should have all the powers to govern themselves, but none of the powers to threaten us. And that means that certain powers, like overall security, will always remain in our hands. Now, that is a fact. And no one in Israel will agree to anything else because we don't commit suicide. We want life, we cherish life for ourselves, for our neighbors. And I think we can work out a peace between us and the entire Middle East with President Trump's leadership. And by working together, I think we can establish a very, very broad peace that will include all our neighbors.
Mr. President, a question on Iran. You asserted that there's a complete and total destruction of the nuclear facilities. So what is the basis of the talks going forward? Is it to cap future nuclear activity? Is it ballistic missiles, terror support, economic-based opportunities? What are the...
It's really a good question because if you remember when it was done, I sort of said, what's the purpose of talking? It's been knocked out completely. But they've requested a meeting, and I'm going to go to a meeting, and if we can put something down on paper, that will be fine. That'll be good. I think they've gained a lot of respect for us. I think they've gained a lot of respect for Israel also. But they would like to meet, and we're going to have a meeting. Steve, when is that meeting going to be? Do you want to say?
Rather, very quickly, in the next week or so.
So we'll see what happens. I think it would be nice to memorialize it, put it down, but because of the incredible result of that attack, if you want to call it an attack, I didn't think it was necessary to have it in writing. I think we spoke. I mean, that speaks much louder than writing. But I can also understand why they'd want it. And they've been very nice. They've been very respectful. And it began by them telling us about 14 they had to do. You know what 14 represents, right? Do you know what 14 represents? Right? You know that, right? The number of bombs dropped. So it was, representative. We got them all. Yeah, please. Behind you, please. No, you.
So this is a question for the Prime Minister. The likely next mayor of New York City is on the Democratic Socialist, the vocal critic of Israel and of yourself, and has said he would arrest you if you came to New York City if he was mayor. Is that something you take seriously, or are you concerned about that? Do you have a response to that?
No, I'm not concerned about that.
I'll get him out.
Look, there's enough craziness in the world, but I guess it never ends. I mean, you have, this is folly. And it's it's silly in many ways because it's just not serious. But what is serious is the question I was asked before. After October 7th, people said the Palestinians had a state, Hamas state in Gaza, and look what they did with it. They didn't build it up; they built down into bunkers, into terror tunnels, after which they massacred our people, raped our women, beheaded our men, invaded our cities and our towns and our kibbutzim, and did horrendous massacres, the kind of which we didn't see since World War II and the Nazis, the Holocaust. So people aren't likely to say, let's just give them another state, it'll be a platform to destroying Israel. We'll work out a peace with our Palestinian neighbors, those who don't want to destroy us, and we'll work out a peace in which our security, the sovereign power of security, always remains in our hands. Now people will say it's not a complete state, it's not a state, it's not that. We don't care. We vowed never again. Never again is now. It's not going to happen again.
So we'll see you in New York next year?
Oh, well, look, I'm going to come there with the President Trump, and we'll see how do you know who the mayor will be? I don't know that. Do we know that?
He's going to be very fine, and who knows, we don't know who the mayor's going to be yet. But this is a communist. He's not a socialist. He's a communist. And he said some really bad things about Jewish people. And he said some really bad things about a lot of people. And I think he's going through a little bit of a honeymoon right now. But he might make it. But, it all comes through the White House. He needs the money through the White House. He needs a lot. He's going to behave. He'll behave. He better behave. Otherwise, he's going to have big problems. But it's a philosophy that this country is not ready for, and it never will be. By the way, we have a man with us who thought this was going to be a very glamorous, easy job. He's the ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, former governor, former everything. I'd say he's a former everything, and respected and loved by everybody. And he loves Israel. He loves the state of Israel, and nobody loves it much more. And he's not Jewish, and he loves Israel. And he wanted to be there. I said, Mike, it could be dangerous. No. Well, at least I was right about that. He was in every bunker you could be in. He was running around from bunker to bunker, but he's still with us, fortunately, and he's done a great job. Would you say a few words, Mike?
Just want to say what an honor it is to serve you, Mr. President, and to see a historic horizon that we're looking at in the Middle East. And when the President made his trip to the Middle East, and then he really reached out to the new Syrian government, knowing they needed a partner and knowing that they could pick the wrong partner. And what the President did, which took us all off guard, but the strategic move in that has set up something that is absolutely historic. And Mr. President, I don't even think you fully comprehend the impact that you're having on the region in a way that is so remarkable. And it was your leadership, your foresight, you did that. When the B-2s went in, the celebration, the sense of partnership that you gave with the Israeli people was so dramatic. But the message was bigger than to Israel. It was a message to the world. America's friends can trust us, but America's foes had better fear us. And that is a message that the President sent to everyone on the planet. And it is a message that will resonate toward a matter of peace, the likes of which I don't think we've ever seen. So thank you.
Great job you're doing, too.
Thank you.
They love you over there. They respect him and they love him. It's very, very interesting. We had the pilots here yesterday, as you know, and they were incredible. And we also had the mechanics. We had a lot of people here that had to do, I think about 170 people that had to do with that incredible journey, a journey that could have been horrible. You remember what happened with Jimmy Carter, with the helicopters and all of the problems, and ultimately hostages. We had the exact opposite. Everything was perfect. It worked perfectly. But I didn't realize, I was saying to one, is this something that you felt strongly about? Absolutely, sir. I couldn't wait. I said, better than you, really better you than me. But they couldn't wait. He said, sir, we've been practicing for this mission for more than 20 years. From just after 2000, they've been thinking and practicing to go into that area. I guess you probably know that better than anybody, Pete. they've been looking at going in, but they never had a president that would allow them to do it. And perhaps right, perhaps wrong. I don't know if that's true or not, but I didn't realize they were preparing for that journey from just a little bit after 2000, the year 2000. And I was pretty amazed by that. They knew it. They knew every inch of it. And they came back and they said, we got it better than we ever did in practice. But they've been practicing for more than 20 years. Can you imagine? Yeah.
On Ukraine, Mr. President, are you planning to send more weapons to Ukraine?
We're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. They're getting hit very hard. We're going to have to send more weapons. Yeah, defensive weapons primarily, but they're getting hit very, very hard. Very sad. So many people are dying in that mess.
Mr. President, one big beautiful bill now signed into law by you. What would you like congressional Republicans to turn their focus to?
All they have to do now is talk about how good it is. The biggest tax cuts ever. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, think of it, no tax on overtime. From a business standpoint, the jobs are coming in like we've never seen them before. As soon as that was signed, there were 9 factories that announced that they were building the 1-year deductibility, things that from a business standpoint you'd understand. The jobs that are being created. And one of the things that is, and this is also that, but it's also because of the tariffs, a tremendous success. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. One of the things that is so exciting is the number of companies and car companies where they're building plants. AI is the big thing. We have over $15 trillion announced already, and it's been, really, I would say it's been during the last 3 months. But we're here for a short period of time, and some administrations never had anywhere near that number for a whole term, probably for a whole 2 terms. But we're up to over $15 trillion coming into our country. There's never been anything like it anywhere in the world. There's never been an investment like that anywhere in the world. Look, I told this story, and I just told it to Bibi. Backstage, I was talking to him, and I said, the King of Saudi Arabia, smart guy, and also we went to Qatar, and we went to UAE, really 3 strong leaders, smart guys. They all told me the same thing, and then that was reiterated at NATO just recently when we got back, where they agreed to spend $1 trillion a year, by the way, which is about 3 times what they were spending. But they all said the same thing. We thought your country was dead. Horrible term, right? We thought the United States of America was dead, and now you're presiding over the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the hottest country in the world. I think Bibi would admit it, even hotter than Israel, though Israel was pretty hot about a week ago, I can tell you, for the wrong reasons. But we are the hottest country in the world right now, and it happened faster than anybody thought possible. But we have over $15 trillion, and that means jobs, and that means building, and that means things like we've never seen before. So all we can do is keep working hard. There'll be always surprises. Some of the surprises are going to be bad surprises.
In your view, is the war between Israel and Iran over, or do those talks need to happen before you can?
Well, I would say that the best man to answer that is the Prime Minister. But I will tell you that, in my view, I hope it's over. Yeah, I think Iran wants to meet. I think they want to make peace, and I'm all for it. Now, if that's not the case, we are ready, willing, and able. But I don't think we're going to have to be. But I think Bibi would answer that question very well.
I think the partnership between Israel and the United States, the partnership between President Trump and me, produced a historic victory. It's an incredible victory, actually. It brought the greatest capabilities of the United States that are unmatched with the great capabilities of Israel and the army of Israel, pilots of Israel, soldiers of Israel, and the Mossad. And the combination of these 2 extraordinary capacities produced a decisive result. It set back the 2 tumors that were threatening the life of Israel, the nuclear tumor and the ballistic missile tumor, because they were planning to build 20,000 of these things and launch it on a country the size of New Jersey. And no country could withstand that. So what do you do when you have two things that are going to kill you? You have to remove them. With our combined effort, we did. But when you remove a tumor, doesn't mean that it can't come back. You have to constantly monitor the situation to make sure that there's no attempt to bring it back. So we've had a great achievement, and I think part of the effort of consolidating this and ensuring that we don't have to repeat this is to monitor this carefully. Of course, the President and I are talking about it, our teams are talking about it, but there's no question this is a historic victory, and I think, as was said here today, this has already changed the face of the Middle East. But I think that there is an opportunity here to create a historic expansion of the Abraham Accords, which were themselves an act of history that deserve a Nobel Prize for the President. But I think the opportunities are much bigger, and I hope, I'd like to believe that Iran would not test our fortitude because it would be a mistake. It's better to go a different way.
Do you believe a regime change is still necessary there?
But I think it's up to the people of Iran.
Mr. Prime Minister, speaking on Syria, the Trump administration was fully supportive of the changes in Syria, backing the new regime there. Obviously, your government more cautious from a security standpoint. Are you comfortable with the pace of change, with the security situation vis-a-vis Syria right now?
I think there's an opportunity to explore. I think that everyone understands that the situation has changed. Before that, Iran was essentially running Syria, okay, directly through Hezbollah. Hezbollah has been brought to its knees. Iran is out of the picture. So I think this presents opportunities for stability, for security, and eventually for peace. And I think that's been opened up also by the fact that the president has opened up a channel. So they have something. There's a lot to lose by going back to conflict, and there's a lot to gain by moving towards peace. And I think that opportunity has been opened by the president and by the changed security situation which we brought about with the collapse of the Assad regime.
Are there direct talks with the Assad government?
Now, let's suppose there were. Would I answer yes? No, right?
That's my duty to ask.
Right? It's your duty to ask, and my duty to ask you back. So,
you know, at the request of a lot of countries in the surrounding area of the Middle East, including Bibi, we took the sanctions off Syria, and I met the new leader. I was very impressed by him. Somebody said, well, he comes from a very tough background. I said, well, you know, I'm not that surprised. It's a tough part of the world. But I was very impressed by him. But we took the sanctions off because we want to give them a chance. They would never have had a chance without the sanctions. And one of the things we have with Iran is, you know, we have they call biting, they are very biting sanctions. And I would love to be able to, at the right time, take those sanctions off, give them a chance at rebuilding, because I'd like to see Iran build itself back up in a peaceful manner and not going around saying death to America, death to the USA, death to Israel, as they were doing. You know, they were the bully of the Middle East, and now they're not the bully anymore. But they were saying terrible things, and would like to see them. They have such potential. You know, they have the oil power, and they have great people, smart people, energetic people, amazing. And I know so many Iranians from New York. I have a lot of friends, and they're great people. So it's a shame when you see a thing like this happen. But I think that taking the sanctions off of Syria is going to give Syria a great shot at making it.
Mr. President, a congressional question. Are there any executive orders that you'd like to see Congress focus on when they come back in session? Do you have any that you prioritize to go first?
Well, we've done a lot of them in the last, as you know, and I always say the great, big, beautiful bill. I add the word great. But it was the largest bill of its kind ever passed. We were talking about it before. It was beauty. But, you know, a lot of the things that we did, executive orders, have been codified in the legislation that we just had passed. And we're going to be sending in a lot more over the next period of about 2 months separately. But a lot of it was part of that beautiful big bill.
Mr. President, on tariffs, What happened to 90 trade deals in 90 days?
Oh, we've spoken to everybody. We know it's all done. I told you, we'll make some deals, but for the most part, we're going to send a letter. We're going to say, welcome to the United States. If you'd like to participate in the greatest, most successful country ever. I mean, we're doing better than ever. We have, I don't think, and you're going to see these numbers soon. We've never had numbers like this. We've never had investment like this. We have more than 90. We're going to have much more than 90, but most of those are going to be sent a letter. This is exactly what I said. Now, we've made a deal with United Kingdom. We've made a deal with China. We've made a deal. We're close to making a deal with India. Others we met with, and we don't think we're going to be able to make a deal, so we just send them a letter. If you want to play ball, you have to. This is what you have to pay. So as far as I'm concerned, we're done. We're sending out letters to various countries telling them how much tariffs they have to pay. Some will maybe adjust a little bit depending if they have a cause. We're not going to be unfair about it. And actually, it's a small fraction compared to what we should be getting. We could be asking for much more. But for the sake of relationships that we've had with a lot of really good countries, we're doing the way I do it. But we could be getting a lot more. We could ask for a lot more than what we're asking for.
Let's say we're done because you're sending the letters. To follow up on Ed had asked earlier, you're counting these as deals by saying, here's the tariff rate we're going to charge.
I'm saying, here it is. Congratulations. Welcome to the United States. I hope you make a lot of money, and you're going to pay us money. They were ripping us. They were charging us tariffs at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We have some countries who are charging 200% tariffs and making it impossible to do business. And what the tariffs are doing is they're driving people in and companies into the United States. That's why we're building all of the work that you see happening in this country right now, and it's at a record level. All the factories, all of the AI institutions that are being built. It's largely because, I think it's because of November 5th, the good election, and I think it's because of the tariffs. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.
What's the tariff rate for Israel?
I don't know, but it looks good to me.
All right, so he spoke for a lot longer than I thought he'd speak for. Actually, the two of them, he and Bibi. Just to recap for you guys, the people in that meeting were from left all the way across. It was Steve Witkoff, who's basically the ambassador, not ambassador, but he's the fixer over there in the Middle East. Hold on one second. Susie Wiles, Marco Rubio, President Trump, Pete Hegseth, John Ratcliffe, director of the CIA, and then Mike Huckabee, who's the ambassador to Israel. Very interesting. He looked very relaxed, but the people at that meeting, or that dinner rather, should give you some information as to what's actually going on. I didn't know if you noticed who the guy sitting next to Bibi was, but he had a military outfit on as well. So this wasn't so much a business meeting, because if it was a business meeting, Scott Bessent would be there, Howard Lutnick, some of those type of people. This is obviously military in nature. You can tell by the guys: Ratcliffe, CIA, Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio. So this is probably more than it appears, but in any event, it brought out the trolls. I noticed that. Trolls were going crazy tonight. They continue to go crazy. Anytime you have Bibi, Netanyahu, or Israel in the mix, it brings them all out. And then, of course, all this Epstein stuff has everybody up in their brows unfurled and them freaking out. Meanwhile, I had some guy say, "Oh, Barry, your God is money." I'm like, you have no idea. No, I have one God. But I also know what President Trump just said. Trillions and billions and trillions. The economy's on fire. And that's what I voted for. I voted for peace. I voted for the economy to go crazy and for everybody to enjoy the opportunity for prosperity. I didn't vote for that list. Didn't do it. So if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I'm not going to dwell on it. And no, I'm not turning the other cheek. No, I'm not forgetting it. I don't control it. Big difference. I don't control it. But that's, anyway, let me talk to you about this. Let me see if I can bring this up. Because I'm not sure if I can. If I can, depending how this looks. Hold on. Where is it? Okay, it's this right here. All right, so Patriot Addict has a new knife. That's the new knife that they're pushing right now. I don't have one in hand yet, but I will have one very soon. So this knife, if you want to go ahead and click the QR code that's over my face right now, they're back with, again, as you know, they're giving away their incredible Trump signed knives for free, but with a twist. So Patriot Addict took all your feedback from the original Trump red knife and made something way better. This new Trump signed knife features actual signature from President Trump. It showcases the American flag and is sharper and more sleek than ever before, and the quality is amazing. Normally this costs $70, but for Fanfare family, it's completely free. Just pay shipping. No product cost, no hidden fees, just a free Trump signed knife delivered to your door. You might be wondering why. It's their way of saying thank you for all the support and building even more buzz around their brand. So don't wait. Scan the QR code on the screen to grab your 100% off coupon before they're gone. And again, just scan the code right now to claim your free Trump signed knife. So this is pretty interesting. They've come up with a new product. So that's very cool. Very, very, very cool. All right, so let's get back to everything. Everybody okay? Done with the trolls? I just don't get people sometimes. I really don't. I'm not going to focus on it because it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. All right, let's go to what matters with President Trump. Here's what matters with President Trump and what his administration is trying to do. Like it or not, this is the priority of the Trump administration.
How is making cuts on Medicaid programs? Well, how does that and how it affects the people who are at the lowest ranking when it comes to income, how does that help with the affordability crisis in America? Well, first of all, the affordability and saving Medicaid, let's separate those. And only in D.C. is a 20% hike over 10 years, a cut. So Medicaid funding will go up 20% over the next 10 years.
Did you know that? Let's stop right there. Everyone keeps saying, oh, millions are going to lose their health care. Oh, my God, what are we going to do? Oh, the poor people. No, Medicaid funding goes up over the next 10 years. Don't hear that ever, including with Dana Bash here on CNN. She didn't want to say that. Affordability and cuts, how do they go together? Well, if something is less expensive, then you should be able to afford it, if you're working, of course.
People who Medicaid were designed for, the pregnant women, the disabled, and families with children under 14 will be refocused. The able-bodied Americans are not vulnerable Americans, so a work requirement or a community service requirement, that's very popular with the public, and many state programs have that now.
Raise your hand. Do you have a problem with people having to work to qualify? Nope, not at all. The Democrats do. Everything should be free. They don't think you should ever have to work. Well, you know what? You work. I work. Why do we have to pay for people who choose not to? I'll wait. You can tell me.
Budget Lab says the richest Americans will see their income rise by nearly 2%. The lowest earning Americans will see their income drop by 3% when factoring in cuts to Medicaid and food stamps.
Not true. The poorest Americans, see, there it goes again. Americans, the poorest Americans aren't working. The poorest Americans who are going to have to get a job now, they'll be working. So obviously their income is going to rise. I don't know how they'd be mathing at all.
Argue that the benefits will really be aimed at the middle class. How does that square?
Well, Dana, first, let's have a look at the Yale Budget Lab, because I was looking at their findings, and this week I actually went on their website. They're all ex-Biden officials, so I think we can discount everything they say. I'd encourage all your viewers to look at the composition of both the board and the staff, and it's just not right that what we have here is a middle-class and working-class bill that we are going to see wages accelerate, and we are going to see, just as we saw with President Trump's first tax bill, we are making permanent these tax cuts. And what happened in 2017, 2018 was the highest wage earners went from paying 37% of all taxes to 45%. So that's going to be permanent now. So permanently, the highest 10% will pay a higher percent of the taxes.
Talk to.
Very simple to understand if you're allowed to understand it, if you're allowed to hear it. The media won't talk about it. The framing of her question caused him to laugh because, as I've told you before, it's all about the modeling. They're not even taking into account the modeling that President Trump and his economic staff are using. And so because they're using bad data, they can't figure out how does this work. What all it would take for them to do is go, here's the data we're using, here's how we're coming up with our calculations. Can we at least have a discussion, apples about apples? That would be great for the media. Let's talk apples to apples here. Nope, they won't do it. And so they're always coming in with an angle that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
All business owners, both doing interviews with them and just in and around in my life interacting with them, I have not met one who has not said it's the uncertainty with the tariffs that is making it so hard for them to do business. Because
she's lying. The people, the small business people that she talks to, why don't you do that? Why don't you talk amongst people that you know who, own small businesses and ask them, hey, listen, you worried about these tariffs? And I would venture to say, most of them are like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it doesn't affect me. I sell pizza, okay? I sell hair extensions. I sell clothing. Maybe they might have an issue. But for the most part, I know when I go shopping, I know in my business, the tariffs don't matter. In fact, they're completely being overwhelmed by the good stuff that President Trump is providing. He mentioned it in that meeting. Again, you may have missed it. A lot of people don't like talking about prosperity. It pisses them off. They think you have a god of money when your president is telling you what I'm doing for you, 100% expensing. How the hell can tariffs bother me if I get 100% deduction on this, and this? I'll wait. You can tell me. You can tell me why I should worry about a small tariff when I can do 100% write-off. Is she not talking to businesses about that? What business is she talking about? Somebody on TikTok? Because as soon as I would talk to that person, oh, you're worried about paying maybe another 10, 15%. Well, number one, you don't have to buy from that supplier. And number two, what are you doing with your 100% bonus depreciation? What are you doing about your 100% write-off? See, if you're doing your accounting based on CNN, you've already lost. If you're listening to people online without digging into what President Trump is saying, you've already lost.
Kind of frozen in place. What do you say to those business owners?
Well, I'd say two things. The other thing they would probably have been telling you is it was the uncertainty around taxes. So with the one big beautiful bill, they now have great certainty on taxes.
No, they've said tariffs.
No, but let me finish. When I'm out talking to businesses, they want trade and taxes. So we have certainty on taxes now. All businesses know that they'll be getting 100% expensing for new plant and equipment.
See, that's what I just told you. How do you worry about stuff when you get 100% expensing? My wife's brother owns a construction company. He's planning on buying a fleet of trucks because he gets 100% expensing. I'm looking at moving into a new studio and building it out with 3 or 4 different sets on location because I get 100% deduction. All of it. Computer, lights, laptop, monitors, LED screens. Wait till you see what I do. And I don't care about the other stuff is because I get 100% deduction. So tell me why I need to be worried about whether or not the Epstein list got put out there. I'm about to take on this rocket ship that he keeps telling you to get your seat on. Not everybody. People are bickering in the chat. Oh, I'm so upset. Why? He's opened the world to you. Literally. I get people who watch this show all the way from Vietnam and stuff. I can't believe how many international viewers we get. And so that tells me I need to build out. I need to continue growing. That tells a carpenter who's going to help build in my studio, he can hire more people. Why? Because he can get another truck and more tools and everything else because he can do stuff. The guys who cut our lawn, the guys who do our pool, they're all talking about expansion because now the amount of money they have to invest in themselves to make more revenue is going to be more feasible. Let's say you own a lawn service and you're sitting there, you're like, I got 1 truck and I got 3 mowers. Man, if I could get another 2 mowers and another truck, I would be set. I could probably sign up 50, 60 more accounts. Now, all of a sudden, not with Biden, not with Kamala, the lawn guy can say, listen, I'm going to go door to door here, and I'm going to see if I can't pick up 4 or 5 more in this neighborhood, and 4 or 5 more in the next neighborhood. Because now I know I can expand. And by the way, he's Mexican. He's legal, but he's Mexican. He couldn't be happier. The same thing with the pool guy. Hey, listen, I could do better if I had more machines and I could vacuum the pools and everything else because everybody down here has a pool. Okay, now he can. The guys who do this, what do you call this stuff? Pressure washing. And they pressure wash your pool deck and they pressure wash your driveway. Now he can do more as well. He can get more equipment. I don't understand why people aren't getting this. It's not looking the other way from Epstein. It's focusing on what these guys can do with their lives. So when I talk about this and saying, hey man, let's talk about the positivity, it's because I see it daily. Well, twice a week. I personally touch it. And I see the pool guy, and I see the lawn guy, and I see the pressure washer guy, and I see them all down the street, different companies doing all different yards. And I'm like, man, this is bustling. You go out here in the morning, it looks like an army descended. Everybody's ramping up. And I guarantee you, if I went and talked to any of them, the lawn guy, the pool guy, the pressure wash guy, even the ladies that come and are housekeepers for Robin, all of them, hey, listen, by the way, I know you picked up a whole bunch more accounts and now you got some different equipment. Are you worried about the Epstein list? Huh? What are you talking about? Sorry, I work all day. I go home, I have dinner, and I get ready to work again tomorrow. It didn't mean it wasn't important. I didn't mean that it wasn't heinous. Wasn't looking the other way. I was like, I'm just focusing here. Focus on positivity.
Tariffs, again, it is the 18 important trading relationships, and we're moving through those. Look, we inherited a mess, and I'm not sure where all these deficit hawks were when Team Biden was blowing out the deficit. So last year was 6.7% of GDP, which was the highest it had been when we weren't in a recession, weren't at war. And as your previous guest said, we don't have a tax collection problem. We have a spending problem, and we are trying to get that under control. We are also trying to accelerate growth because changing the growth trajectory upward solves a lot of the deficit problems.
Okay, hold on right there with that. if accentuating and accelerating growth really takes away from the deficit problem, why are we not talking about more and more growth? See, it's not the fact that I love money or anybody else loves money. It's good for the country. I know his business model now. His business model is we need to grow, we got to do the tariffs, and we'll get rid of the debt. So I'm doing my part. And I encourage you to do your part. Grow the deficit, grow the economy. It's very simple.
There's a lot of misinformation out there. I think TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, has turned into tariff derangement syndrome. As soon as you call them the Trump tariffs, 90% of Democrats hate them. And I'm going to have to disagree with Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. The empirical data shows that we have seen no inflation thus far, and we'll see over the coming months. And Shannon, there's a big difference in inflation and a one-time price adjustment also. Inflation is a generalized monetary phenomenon. We're not going to see that. And thus far, we haven't even seen the one-time price adjustment. What we are seeing, the business model for many of our trading partners, especially in Southeast Asia, is to produce, and the manufacturers in those countries are taking the price increases into, or the tariffs into their margins. Yeah.
All right. So again, that was a lot of economic stuff that some people may not really grasp. But what he just said was that these other people, their business models, again, we're talking business modeling here, they're seeing what the tariffs that President Trump is putting on, and they're pricing it in what they're doing. And you know how everybody always says, well, the consumer here is going to pay the tariff eventually because the price is going to be more expensive. Not necessarily. And that is a huge misnomer, because it turns you into a shopper again instead of just a buyer. Instead of just being an ignorant consumer, now you have to shop, and you can tell which things you want to buy. I've said many times, there's certain things, I don't care how much more they cost. I want my Heinz ketchup. I would pay more if it cost more than to pick more tomatoes, whatever. But it's not just that. Understand, there's going to be differences and cost adjustments on many things that aren't even tariffed. Have you thought about that? What do you think is going to happen when XYZ company can't use certain recipes to make certain foods because they're cutting a deal with RFK Jr.? We're going to have to pull this dye out of here. What are they going to do? They're going to have to add something else to make it appealing so people can buy it. They're not just going to sell you green chocolate. They have to add something which is going to be better for you. And guess what? Something that might be better for you might be more expensive. Or would you rather to continue being poisoned? Because that's your alternative. Hey, listen, I like the red Fruit Loops, but it's got red dye and it could kill you. That's okay, it's cheap. And then you want to give it to your kids. You're going to have to become an educated consumer instead of just a buyer, an educated shopper. Now, the problem in the hood and the problem with, most poor people is they always reach for the crap. I almost said the word. You've seen the videos. Every time they go down the shelves, they're taking their EBT money and they're piling crap inside the cart. And I'm thinking to myself, why do you have 8? Now I know why Costco exists for these people. Why do you have 18 Tony the Tiger Frosted Flakes things here? If you're on EBT, here's another thing I have. If you're on EBT and you're not working, why aren't you cooking your kids breakfast? Oh my God, that's racist. Wait, no. Instead of buying Tony the Tiger and everything else laden with sugar, how about buying some eggs? You got $3,000 for free. And then, whatever you want to accompany that, sausage, not necessarily bad, and make it for them. Oh my God, I'd have to do something besides just pull it off the table. They like the Pop-Tarts and stuff. It's a whole behavioral change that has to be made completely.
We're going to have several announcements in the next 48 hours. And, Joe, I think what President Trump is concerned about is the quality of the deals, not the quantity. as you could imagine, as he started herding the cats and trying to get everyone across the finish line, when he said that there's a chance that countries could boomerang back to their April 2nd reciprocal tariff levels, we've had a lot of people change their tune in terms of negotiations. So my mailbox was full last night with a lot of new offers, a lot of new proposals. So it's going to be a busy couple of days. But importantly, too, that President Trump has said that the countries would not go back to the reciprocal rate until August 1st.
No, okay. Now I want to show you something. This might give you some clarity on something. As everybody today, and I do mean just about everybody, was whining and bitching and moaning about the Epstein stuff. I want you to tell me how many people that you follow were talking about something this important. You ready? All right. President Trump, and you can go to True Social and see this yourself, began posting all of the letters that he sent out today. This one is to Bosnia and Herzegovina, however, if I said that correctly, about their tariff. This one was to Thailand. This one was to Thailand again. This one was to Cambodia. This one was to Serbia. This one was to Bangladesh. This one was to the Republic of Indonesia. This one is to Tunisia. This one went to Myanmar. This one went to the People's Republic of, what is this? Vietnam, I think this is. I think it's Vietnam. I can't see. It's too small for me here. This one is South Africa. This one is Kazakhstan. This one is to Malaysia. This one is to Kuala Lumpur. And wait a minute, there's more down here. This is Korea, and this one is Japan from earlier. How many of those letters have you seen people talk about? I mean, everyone who's screaming about Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Epstein, and how many of them talked about stuff that actually matters? When I say matters, matters to you, matters to America. They're all right there. Every single one of them. He posted them all. These are, he's doing business. He's driving revenue for America, and I've got people who tell me, oh, you talk too much about money and prosperity. You just saw him post like 10 or 12 letters about generating revenue. So I would just have one question for you. Would you rather President Trump not focus on driving a better America, instead focus on Epstein? Forget all this business stuff. Yeah, that doesn't really matter. We need the red meat. We need to know that someone's going to go to jail. Don't worry about that stuff. Does it make any sense to you? Doesn't make any sense to me. We need to get things in order. It was one of the things on his list that he promised he would do. He promised 20 of them. I showed you what they were earlier, and not a single one of his 20 promises were about Epstein. Not a single one. So when people say, oh, I'm disappointed. Disappointed in what? Disappointed in yourself because you thought it's almost like you're a glutton. He told you what he was going to do. Here are my 20 core pillars that I'm going to go for. Bam-a-da-bam-a-da-bam-a-da-bam-a-da-bam-a-da. And by the way, I'm probably 18-0 right now in the first 6 months. And I'm going after all these countries that have taken advantage of us. And yet I have to look online about people bitching about an Epstein letter.
Cover in the sense that we have a baseline tariff in place. These letters are basically increasing the tariff on some countries. We have some deals that can be signed. I never want to get ahead of the boss, but you've heard countries like Vietnam and India in the mix. So as President Trump says, let's see what happens. But the top line here for your viewers is simply that we're collecting tens of billions of dollars on behalf of the American people. And what's that able to do is protect our workers.
On behalf of who? Tens of billions of dollars, trillions of investment. On behalf of who? Oh, the American people. Excuse me. He's doing exactly what he said he would do, and people are complaining. They're not explaining this stuff to you. Show me the ones who are actually telling you it. Listen to what Peter Navarro's saying. Listen to what Scott Bessent is saying. Listen to what Kevin Hassett is saying. They're telling you what the priority is here. What his priority in regards to what he promised. And it's working.
Factories, we've got trillions of dollars of investment coming in. So this is a process, and the process is going quite well for America.
I know that the administration says the bill will actually shrink the deficit by $1.5 trillion. Help me.
All right, so listen to him here again. He says what I've been telling you. He's gonna use that M word. Here comes the M word.
Understand why there is such a drastic difference between your number and all those others.
Well, first of all, let's remember that science is not democracy. Truth is not democracy. Our estimates are based on modeling that we used last time when I was chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors to say what would happen if we had a bill.
That's it. That's all he had to say to her. Well, you know, the things we're looking at, and that's because you're using the wrong recipe. You're comparing what we're doing, our pineapple upside down cake, against somebody who is making oatmeal. And you're like, well, this oatmeal doesn't look like this, what you're doing, because we're using a completely different model. And this is being said so much, you guys know, because I've told you over and over and over again, you would think the news would say, oh, hey, listen, maybe we shouldn't be comparing oatmeal to the pineapple upside down cake. We look stupid. This looks like baby poop, and this looks like, well, a great dessert. But no, they keep doing it because they want to talk to stupid people. They want to keep people stupid. He keeps telling them, hey, you're using the wrong data. It literally is that simple.
How much growth we would get. And we said, and we were criticized soundly, that we would get 3% growth. And we even had the really technical macroeconomic models that said that we would get 3% growth. We run the same models through this tax bill. It's even better. And what we're seeing is that if you get 3% growth again, then that's $4 trillion more in revenue than the CBO and these other bodies are giving us credit for. They have been wrong in the past, and they're being wrong again in our belief. But the thing that disappoints me is that if I put out a model and I say, hey, here's what's going to happen, we're going to get 3% growth, and then it turns out it's 1.5% growth, then as an academic economist, as a scientist, then it's my duty to say, what did I get wrong? What did my model miss? These people aren't doing that. And that's the
That's it. These people aren't doing it. They're vomiting on television, and they're not even telling you they're using the wrong data. And then, of course, you get people who are like, it's not going to work. You're going to take Medicaid from everybody. People are all going to be poor and broke. I'm like, dude, you're using the wrong data. If you were using the right data, if you were watching from home, you would look at this and go, whew, man, I just don't need one seat on this rocket ship. I need to buy a couple. I need to get my wife a ticket and Aunt Junie a ticket. Everybody needs to get on this rocket ship. But unfortunately, as the rocket is starting to, heat up and you're starting to see the smoke out of it, there are some people who literally are ignoring the rocket and looking at this stuff. Or rather, there are a lot of people buying tickets to get on the rocket ship, but don't want you to notice that the rocket ship is warming up. Hey, come here. Let's look at this. So you don't see this. They know. You have to ask yourself right now, hey, why aren't you guys talking about the rocket ship? Why is it that, your audience of 5-6 million people who watch your shows, why is it that you don't tell them about the rocket ship? You tell them about this stuff. I can't answer that, but I can try to tell you. Can you come on? Can you get ready to strap in this thing? Because it's about to take off. You're going to get left behind because you're looking over here. Not my words, his words.
That I find disappointing because we put, peer-reviewed academic stuff on the table, said we're going to get that 3% growth, and then we got it right last time, and we believe we're going to get it right this time. But if you think that 1.8% growth is what's going to happen over the next 10 years, then you should agree with the CBO number. But there's another part of the CBO number that you need to worry about, and that is that if we don't pass the bill, then it's the biggest tax hike in history. And with that big tax hike, then of course we would have a recession. The CEA says that we'd have about a 4% drop in GDP and lose 9 million jobs. If we had a 4% drop in GDP and we lost 9 million jobs, what would happen to the deficit? And so I don't think that the CBO has a very strong record. I don't think these places have a very strong record. And what they need to do is get back to the basics of looking at macroeconomic models. There's a really...
What did he say? What did he just say? I'm pretty sure I heard what he said. Let me just see if I've heard that again anytime lately. Have I heard that lately? He just said we need to get back to the basics. You just heard him. Well, well, there it is. Back to the basics. See, I pay attention to words. And I know some of you guys are like, well, yeah, Pam said this or that. I'm talking about this stuff. You just heard Kevin say, back to the basics. The boss just said, back to the basics. I'm pretty sure when they're talking in meetings, this is coming up quite a bit. We got to take things back to the basics. If we take things back to the basics in law enforcement, if we take things back to the basics in the economy, if we take things back to the basics in health, then we're going to be in a very good position. And as soon as I heard him say that, well, actually, no, I heard that first. But then when I saw Trump say it, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're communicating again. They are sending out comms all over again.
Famous macroeconomist at Harvard named Jim Stock. They should go back and read everything Jim Stock has written for the last 15 years and fold those into their models, and then maybe we could talk.
I've been very... And what's weird, and there's a comment here by Lisa. I got to put this up. Lisa says, I guarantee you these reporters and interviewers are taking advantage of this stuff in their personal life, but they don't want their viewers to know. Exactly. See, that's the funniest thing, is that everybody, and I do mean everybody you see on television, everybody you see who's got a sizable audience that talks and complains are doing the exact same thing that President Trump is affording them. But they don't tell you. I tell you, and people think I'm either bragging or I only have one focus, and I'm like, I'm doing what the guy keeps telling us to do. I'm sorry. I voted for this. I'm like, hey man, if he gets in, Robin, I'm telling you, if we vote and he gets in, things are going to take off. It's going to be unbelievable. Now we just got one thing left, and that's for the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates, and then boom, boom, and every single one of these people making $10, $15 million at these networks, guess what they're doing? They can't wait. Nancy Pelosi can't wait. She does that on a daily basis. There's people who chart her stock moves. I saw today, what was funny, what's the guy's name? Dave Portnoy. Dave Portnoy put $10 million into Tesla. And other people are like, Tesla's dying. What does he know you don't know? What does Dave Portnoy know that he was willing to put 10 million ducats of his own money into Tesla? Just saying. Again, if you watch what these people are doing and not the ones who are crying about a list, but doing moves in their own lives, Yeah, you're going to glean so much.
Clear and will continue to be so. This bill reduces the deficit, period, end of story, and it does to a great degree. And there are two real main factual things that people need to remember that have been largely ignored or just misunderstood. Number one, the way CBO works is they assume that tax relief in law, current tax laws, sunset, and they assume spending is into eternity. We've said this for decades, and yet the fiscal watchdogs want to use this unfair, wrong, and counterfactual way of what current law is to assume that the vast majority of this tax relief, and we have more than current law in it, to be clear, but they want to say that that's a cost and that somehow that's not what American people would know to be a tax increase. Secondly, CBO doesn't do economic growth to any degree. And so what we put forward to the Council of Economic Advisors is to show if you're at 3% economic growth, you're talking about $4 trillion in addition to just kind of static deficit reduction that this bill does. It pays for itself as deficit reduction even without economic growth. You add that on top, and you have trillions of dollars that would not happen without this bill that are leading to economic growth and deficit reduction. It is a home run. There's like no downside to this bill. This is not one where you have to say the kind of pros and cons. It's all good. And that is the story we're going to continue to explain to people as we focus in on each aspect of the bill that was put together to try to get as much through from a procedural standpoint through reconciliation.
Love that. Love it. I'm sopping that up with a biscuit. And it's funny because I look over into the chat and I know that SV is like, oh my God, you gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go. And I just want to say something because there's a few people in here who are still pissed off. Like, I can't look away. Don't. If you need to focus on that, go ahead. That's all I'm saying. I'm not. And you can't say and call me a name. You can't call other people names. You do you. I hope it works out for you. I hope you're fantastic. I hope all your dreams come true. I hope that Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi rip people out of homes and arrest them and do everything you want to see. Go ahead and wait. While you're waiting, some of us are following what President Trump wants. I don't know if you're trying to talk us into it. That's the funniest thing. When I see some of the trolls in here, I'm like, are you trying to talk us into being miserable? That's the part that makes me laugh. I'm like, I am never going to be as miserable as you are right now. And I hope most of the people watching are never going to be as miserable as some of these people are. Let them wallow. I don't care. Oh, wait a minute. That reminds me. Did I just say it? Where are you, Judy? Judy. Yes.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
It cracks me up because that pisses him off even more. What do you mean you don't care? No, I don't care what you think. I care about the kids, but good gosh. All right, let's continue while they wallow.
Zohran Mamdani, the likely next mayor of New York City, has promised not to cooperate with you or with ICE or with deportations of any kind. Do you have a plan? Is there a plan to work around that? How are you going to handle it?
Feel like I'm at, we're going to be in New York City, and President Trump said it 2 weeks ago. We're going to double down and triple down in sanctuary cities. Why? Not because we're a blue city or blue state, because we know that's where the problem is. We know they're releasing public safety threats and national security threats to the streets every day because they don't honor our detainers. We know that. We don't have that problem like in Florida, where every sheriff in the state's working with us. So where we're going to send our assets, we're going to send them where the problem is. Sanctuary cities. So I've said it before, we'll flood the zone with sanctuary cities.
I don't know if you saw Karen Bass today. She held a press conference and she's crying and whining about the military's in the street. The military, and they brought tanks and everything. It was awful. And when he said that, I thought to myself, y'all remember the movie Bonnie and Clyde? And they're like, hey, why do you rob banks? Because that's where they keep the money. And so Tom Homan, hey, why are you going around to these cities and rounding people up? Because that's where they keep the newcomers? Kind of stupid, right? if Florida is doing what they need to do and other states are doing what they need to do, why don't I go where they keep the money, i.e. the newcomers? See, with Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom, if they were smart what they do, they'd play along and go, hey, just go down to Sacramento or something. We're gonna get you out of LA real quick. Oh, there's nobody here. But no, you're telling him every single protest, every single thing that you guys do, you're telling Tom Homan, oh, they're all there, huh? This is where you're trying to protect them. That's not gonna work. In fact, it puts a larger target on them because we know they're all here. That's ever put a target on yourself that big where everybody knows where you are? Yeah, they're coming for you, bro. They're coming for you.
It's a bloodbath over on MSNBC and CNN. MSNBC, now the numbers are out on the latest Nielsen data reported by Adweek, now averaging between April and June, okay, so that's a quarter, 1 million in the prime time for its best shows. 1 million. All right.
And so what she's talking about in prime time, that's all of prime time. That's from the 8 o'clock hour until about 10 o'clock, 10, 11. All of those combined. Every single show on CNN and MSNBC combined. And that's with them being in airports and doctors' offices and being shown in bars and all kinds of things. That's not even just people at home watching, which means nobody's watching these news channels. Nobody.
When I was at Fox, we were doing like 3 million and change on the Kelly file. And then on the big news nights, you could add a couple of extra million to that. Like 1 million? That's what I used to get on America's Newsroom with Hemmer in 2007 at 9 a.m. But now they're getting 1 million in the prime time. Prime time. Any show on the Fox News prime time that would, even today, especially because now, you know, it's inflated under Trump at Fox, that was getting 1 million in the prime time, you get fired. The anchor would get fired. Okay, and in the key demo of 25 to 54, MSNBC is averaging under 100,000. 91,000. That's.
Let that sink in. Let me give you a little bit of insight here on my show. On my show, in that key demographic that she's talking about, 25 to 54, which most of us may be a little bit older than that, I am almost on par with CNN and MSNBC. The other guys, Tim Pool and those guys, they're way above CNN and MSNBC, which means these people are getting paid tens of millions of dollars to talk to themselves. Nobody's watching. They can't survive. President Trump is basically going like this and turning off the spigot on them. Their irrelevance is beyond measure at this point, and you have to sit back and go, how are they still on television? Well, it's because of the pharmaceutical ads. And so that's coming. Again, we're wondering what's on the next page. I bet you that's coming very soon.
What their prime time, the biggest ratings getters on the network are averaging on MSNBC, a fall from year over year of 15% in the overall and 20% in the demo, which is kind of interesting. I would have thought it would have been a bigger fall given that this time last year was the lead up to the election. All right, I'm not done. Even worse is in the day on MSNBC. Total viewership plummeting 26%, an average during the day of 596,000, so under 600,000 viewers on your average MSNBC daily show, and 57,000 in the key demo. Under 50,000 is slashies. They don't even give you the number. You don't know what you got under 50,000.
Under 50,000 people and their per show in that demo. The 25 to 54 demo, she's talking about it from an advertising perspective because that's the demo that advertisers want to pay for. When they're looking at, even running spots here on my channel, they look and see how much of your audience is between 25 and 54. And you may be thinking, why do advertisers want that? They call it the demo. Why is that important? Well, people between 25 and 54, especially if it skews even a little bit older, those are the people with money who are actually buying things. So if most of your audience skews to the rioters and the idiots, guess what? That means you're dropping like this. And obviously when you see numbers like 50,000 on a network, it means you're missing that demo completely. You're talking to welfare queens. You're talking to Antifa. And nobody wants to advertise to that group.
Just know you got slashies, which means you are a loser. That's really what that means. Double L for loser. So they're getting 600,000 in the daytime and 57,000 in the demo. That's a nightmare. Let me do CNN. They're in last place. They're lower than MSNBC. How can you go lower? So I'm ripping on MSNBC for having 1 million averaging in the prime time. Guess what CNN's average is in the prime time? 538,000 in the overall. In the total viewers, under 540,000 people. This is CNN. It's the face of the airport TV. It's everybody knows CNN. No one wants to buy the product. In the demo, 105,000 in the prime time. They're averaging 105,000. So on MSNBC, it's 91,000. So CNN's a little over MS in the demo, but last in the overall. That's humiliating.
It's more than humiliating. It's not viable. You can't sell enough ads to pay these anchors the big salaries. So where's the money coming from? That's where, at this point, whatever they had banked, they're like, okay, we're not getting USAID anymore. We're not getting that backdoor deal from the Biden administration. So all we have is pharmaceuticals at this point. That's it. That's it. That's it, boys and girls. You're this close from being insolvent, which is why you see some of their anchors jumping ship and trying to do podcasts, but nobody's watching their podcasts because they weren't even watching their shows. It's very hard for liberals to do what I do and other people do, is because they were never about building engagement. Everything they did, everything they still do, is about pushing a message that nobody believes. So you're pissing off the conservatives, and the libnuts that watch it don't care. They just want to burn everything. They don't want to know. So the reason I played that is because I just wanted you to see how bad off they were. Now, again, let's go with a positive note here. This is just an amazing feel-good story that I want to end here. Amazing feel-good story.
Scott Ruskin joins us now. Scott, thank you for joining us this morning. Tell us what happened.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So I'll kind of give you guys a quick synopsis of what was going on. The Coast Guard launched us and decided to send a rescue crew from Air Station Corpus Christi at about 6:30, 7 a.m. on Friday, the 4th of July. I just happened to be on the duty crew with Ian Hopper, Blair Rougefort, Seth Reeves, some of our crew members in the Coast Guard. And they sent us out. We kind of encountered some pretty serious weather, some of the worst flying we've ever dealt with personally. It took us, which should have been an hour flight, probably took us about 7 or 8 just to get into the landing zone. Once made about 4 different approaches trying to get in, we were able to get boots on the ground with the Air National Guard, Department of Public Safety for Texas, game wardens. And we decided to leave me on scene at Camp Mystic. That was kind of our main triage site we were trying to help out with. And we decided, hey, if we leave the rescue swimmer on scene, we'll have more space in our Dolphin MH-65. So based on that, I got on scene, boots on the ground at Camp Mystic. Kind of discovered I was the only person there as far as like first responders go. So yeah, I had about 200 kids mostly, all scared, terrified, cold, having probably the worst day of their life, and I just kind of needed to triage them, get them to a higher level of care, and get them off the flood zone with a lot of the US-60 Army helicopters.
Talk about how that works. You got 165, close to 200 kids there. How do you get them out? Just one by one?
Yeah, sir, it's a great question. So the United States Army National Guard was landing their 60s with Task Force 1, some of their rescue swimmers, and they were able to land. We kind of came up with 2 different landing zones. There was one off an archery field and then one at a soccer field. So yeah, we were able to kind of land those 60s in there. And then I was kind of the main guy as far as like grabbing people, usually like 15 to 10 kids at a time, maybe one adult with them, and bringing them over to those 60s and getting them to a different LZ that was kind of safe and had more first responders than just myself out there.
Had you ever done this before?
No, this is my first one. I haven't had any cases before. I've been a rescue swimmer for about a year, fully trained for about 6 months. So yeah, this is my first experience, but I really just kind of rely.
Just imagine that. This guy's first rescue mission. And he saves 165 people. He's got to get invited to the White House. Come on over, bud. I mean, that's fantastic.
On the training we get, Coast Guard rescue swimmers get some of the highest level training in the world. So really just kind of relied on that, and that, you know, just knowing that any of the rescue swimmers in the Coast Guard would have done the exact same, if not better than me. So
training is one thing, but this was the real deal.
Yeah, this is definitely the real deal, but I just remembered that, you know, when I got on scene, there was, 200 kids looking to someone for some sort of comfort and safety. They don't really know what my experience is or my rank or my age. They just know, hey, this guy's a professional and he's here to help us, and I kind of had to live up to that standard. But yeah, the real heroes, I think, were the kids on the ground. Like, those guys are heroic, and, they were dealing with some of the worst times of their lives, and they were staying strong, and that helped inspire me to kind of get in there and help them out.
Well, you sure stayed strong as well. Thank you for joining us this morning. Congratulations on a job well done.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a lot more on the Texas Flooding Disaster coming up.
Thank goodness.
That is amazing. And the guy just seems like a normal, level-headed guy. Yeah, I my first time out the box, and I saved 165 people. You got to salute somebody like that. That's absolutely phenomenal. And the fact that it's my job. It's what I do. I don't need any fanfare. It's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to show up and get this done. All right, so wanted to close with something about the list per se. All right, there are a couple comments I wanted to address. And it says, this is from Buster. The reason people care about the list is because they blatantly lied and said there isn't a list. And we all know there are powerful people still walking free. I would have to correct you and tell you we all think that there are powerful people still walking free. You don't know. Don't at me. Don't at me, bro, because it's true. You don't know. We all think that, for sure. The other comment was from Robin Meeks that struck me. Barry, maybe we just need to take a step back and put on our outside thinking caps. Maybe there actually is more to what Pam, Cash, and Dan are doing. You think? See, that's where people need to step back. That's where people who, how can I say, might be new to the game in terms of being Maga and everything. They might not have been around for quite some time. They may be new to taking the red pill. See, many of us who've been around have seen all this for years. And what you're saying, Rob N, is completely correct. Maybe there might be some things you don't know about. Maybe that's way up here that's happening. And I was going to go on a long talk about that, but I'm not going to, because I found somebody who did write it. Again, another anon. If you don't know what anon means, you might want to look that up. The bottom line is Trump is engaged in a shadow war with the deep state, and you either trust him or you don't. I guess we could stop right there, because that's it. That is the definition of what's going on, and all the whining and bitching and complaining doesn't matter. You have to know at this point, you have to know without any equivocation that President Trump is locking horns with the deep state. And there are moves being made that you have no idea, and I have no idea, but there are moves being made, and it's a clandestine war at this point. If Trump is unhappy with Bondi or any of his appointees, he will address it when he deems fit. We, as the public, also have to understand that we do not have all the pieces to the puzzle, nor should you. Nor should you. and things are never as they initially seem. This became very apparent with the Iran situation. Trump had the situation under control the entire time while the public had no idea. Thankfully, Trump does not take advice from clickbait influencers online. He knew what he was doing. The same can be said for DOJ FBI situation and every other situation. Trump has a game plan, and you can either trust Trump to carry out his plan, or you can cry about it online all day and vote for someone else in 3.5 years. That is your choice. You can say, this is the guy who I voted for. This is the guy who they tried to destroy. This is the guy who they tried to put in jail with 94 different accounts and then had E.G. and Carol sue him and take his money away. This is the guy who Letitia James tried to say his property in Mar-a-Lago wasn't worth $400 million. This is the guy they took a shot at more than once. This is that one man who you voted for. And if you take all of that into account and go, wait a second, do you think he just said, no big deal. I'll forget about it. When everything he told you along the way was, I am going to obliterate the deep state. He didn't say when, he didn't say how, he didn't say, hey, I'll let you know when I'm going to obliterate the deep state. He said, I'm going to obliterate the deep state. Do you think the deep state's just going to lay around and get obliterated, or are they going to fight back? Well, they're going to fight back. How do you know? Because they're doing everything to do so. This woman, federal judge in Massachusetts, just ruled to block the big beautiful bill from defunding Planned Parenthood. So now the judges are overturning Congress. Let that sink in. They're falling on the sword so hard, they're not even discounting executive orders. Now we're going to just discount laws. We're just going to say the law that the Congress passed, nope, we can't do it. And you people, or some of you people, are worried because you didn't see the list or they were told something. You not see everything that's happening? Are you not really cognizant of the entire picture? You don't deserve the information. It'll be disclosed when it's time, but you don't deserve it. And XYZ person doesn't deserve it, and this person doesn't deserve it. Not when you're fighting stuff like that. When your opponent is willing to just fall on the sword and ignore a constitutionally voted on, signed law and say, no, you can't do it. And you think that this is playtime? Let's continue. Until then, Trump is our best and only shot. He has proven he is in the opposition to the deep state, and I'm going to wait and see how this entire thing unfolds. If everything is a massive failure at the end of the term, we can reassess. What's this? We can reassess and develop a new course of action. But until then, you got to trust Trump. Or just believe a guy who was shot at, hit in the head, arrested, made stand through trial, that he just said, nah, I'm okay. Everything's fine. Also, we know this is an information war and nefarious entities, and that includes some people that you may think are just reasonable hosts, just guys on Twitter and YouTube. Nefarious entities are perpetually targeting the emotions of the public, looking to sow discord and doubt at every opportunity. Put your emotions aside and just watch it unfold. Do not fall victim to the cyclical emotional roller coaster. That says it all. You can't trust how you're being manipulated. You may think, well, I followed this person for a long time. They must have it all wrapped up. And they're saying this stuff about this and this and this. And you have no idea. None. And so understand that there's a lot of money and blood A lot of money when in accidents and things like that. That's why they, you heard the term. If it bleeds, it leads. Just be cognizant of that and understand, as this Anon says, you're in an information war and nefarious entities are perpetually targeting the emotions of the public looking to sow discord. If you can remember that as you're traversing various things, if you can remember that there are people who are very, very, very skilled at disseminating messaging, just remember that. That's all I'm going to say about it, because we are in a war. We are in a spiritual war. We are in an information war. And I believe we're in a civil war. We're just not seeing anybody firing muskets. But I don't doubt for a second that we're not in a civil war. So what am I doing? I'm making sure that I'm armed, that I have ammo, that I have backup supplies, and I'm taking care of the opportunities that Trump is telling us to take care of. Don't let it slide because you're focused over here. Because the alternative is you may be stuck without a chair when the music stops. And that's going to be a bad place for you to be. So that's my honest take on everything I've seen in the last 24, 48 hours. And I think we need to focus as a group on, hey man, I need to make sure I've got a ticket on this rocket ship, because that's what I can take care of. I can't go arrest anybody. I can't do anything here. So all the voicing is basically screaming into the ether. It means nothing. He heard you. He posted. That's it. Now you got to wait. And if you don't want to wait, you're going to have to find somebody who wants to wallow in misery with you. It ain't me. I'm here to help everybody move up. Get on that rocket ship. Be safe. But that's just me. All right, so SV had hit me up with something before we go. Oh, by the way, that's what Ashley and SV both hit me up. It's amazing how the schedules just go crazy. All right, so tomorrow at 11 o'clock, President Trump is hosting a cabinet meeting. Now, obviously, if you've seen some of the cabinet meetings that President Trump puts together, he has the entire cabinet in the room. So in that room will be Pam Bondi, will be Tulsi Gabbard. And he usually goes around and says, all right, report. So you may not want to miss that tomorrow. You might hear some information. As they go around the room, have everybody chime in and tell us, wait, give me your report. What's going on? That's what he did the last 2 times. So hopefully he'll do that again, and he'll include everybody in it. But that should be very interesting. All right, so let me do super chats, and then those of you guys who are pissed off at me, maybe I'll never see you again. But in any event, it is where we are at this point. And maybe I feel different also because we went through the prayer meeting this morning, and I kind of just understand what's important to me and understanding what some people in Texas went through. And I'm pretty sure those people in Texas could give a crap about the Epstein list. So maybe that's why I'm feeling kind of how I'm feeling about that stuff. Because it don't matter. It doesn't matter at all. All right, so let me continue to shape this thing here. Oh, my wrong window. So that means I will be going live at 10:30. SB wants me to play it again. He loves this. He loves this thing here.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
I think the reason why I like that so much is because she was so enthused as she said it. It wasn't like, I don't care. I don't care. It's like, I don't care. I don't care. Because that's exactly how I feel. But I do care about these people in Texas. And I'm gonna be talking to them. All right, so let me let me go ahead and bring this out. Boom. Let's move this over here. Oh, off the top here. Where'd that go? Wow, this is incredible. This is Amnesia. Good day, Mr. Cunningham and your mods. Thank you for the inspiration and dedication to bringing clarity and understanding to myself and the Fanfare family. I am donating for the Texas flash flood relief via Samaritan's Purse. Thank you very much. I got to hook Ashley up with my contact there so we can get them on scene as well. I mean, on the show. All right, so cutting edge. The rates work just like a toll booth. You pay for the government of the state you're entering. The same thing happens with ships entering the state, and U.S. citizens don't pay anything. It's all about competition. Raven Kirkendall, I couldn't find bonus depreciation info on the website. You have to Google it. It's 100% bonus depreciation. Tina Hayes, thank you very much. Love you and the work you put into your shows. Thank you very much. Rafino Allegra, thank you. Patricia Kuhn, even the Bible speaks of Jehovah's blessing his faithful ones with wealth and riches. Even certain clothes, color, even and aroma oils are proof of wealth. It's not a bad thing, people. Mama C, SNAP recipients should pull up content like Frugal Fit Mom, who shows how to cook from scratch much cheaper and can make your own Pop-Tarts without the chemicals and less sugar. Tastes better too. I believe that. I mean, I'm married to a Southern woman who for 32 years has been blowing my mind how she can just be sitting on a couch and just go, you know what, I'm going to go make something. How you just going to go make something? Just I feel like she's I Dream a Genie lady out there or something, because next thing you know, okay, come over, get some. I'm like, you just whipped this up? Mm-hmm. Yes. Neil Young may not like Southern man, but I'm telling you, he would like a Southern woman. Donald Donovan, in my opinion, I have a feeling that President Trump has talked to Mike Johnson and Thune about working on repealing the Impound Act. Something's coming. Notice again today on the schedule. Okay, it's big. Notice today again on the schedule, was he was supposed to sign executive orders, and he didn't do it again. So there's something in the hopper. There are a couple things. Even Caroline Levitt mentioned, hey, today he's going to be signing executive orders. I'm like, where they at? Nobody's seeing these things. So that stuff is coming for sure. Peter Ortiz, thank you. The priorities well-being of the American people. You and me, it's amazing how some people hate that or can't accept it, or they're trolls to try and defeat it. Chapo, the best way for Trump to get back at the Dems is to make us prosperous. Once the people feel the success, they will never vote Democrat again. Bingo. Hello, Robin. Thank you. Peter Ortiz, please donate this to the victims of the flooding. Thank you. Thornton Maloney, I just told Ashley about the movie with Rodney Dangerfield. Back to School, was it? Yeah, love it. Your show this morning was you were super critical. Now you're telling everybody to shut up. Come on, bro. You have to have some parlance in here. You have to have some nuance. Okay. Did I hurt your fifis? I'm sorry. Thomas Schuster, perhaps Trump and the DOJ are waiting for the midterms to be complete before they unleash the hounds. Why stir up the pot in D.C. before the vote count? Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Good idea. John Owens, follow the yellow brick road. For sure. Dean Lance. Nicholas Lamonicus, thank you. I got your email. Thank you very, very much for that uplifting email you sent me. Barry, thank you. I want to help flood victims. Please post a link to Samaritan's Purse so I can help. Will do. Thank you for your email today. Susan Brooke, every time Trump introduces Pam, he's always pointing out what a great job she does. Wait a minute. SV just sent me something. He did a little research here. Grok said that Trump signed 2 orders today. Okay, let's see if I can look at those. Patricia Kuhn, we don't know how deep or wide the deep state goes. They have had years to spread and bury their evil. Indeed. Dave Rutan, thank you, Barry, for all you do. Born on the 4th for Samaritan's Purse, thank you. Hello, Barry, I'm on the rocket ship with seatbelt strap. Love your show. Yeah, get those seats. I mean, invite other people to get on this rocket ship. It's going to be awesome. I'm telling you, it's going to be awesome. SV said he sent me some information about the 2 orders. Okay, here, let's see what they are here. He says, Grok says President Trump signed an executive order today delaying the tariff deadline to August 1st, and a separate one, a memorandum regarding a federal hiring freeze. Interesting. I wonder if I can do this. I wonder if we can go, if they posted it to the White House. Let me just check real quick and see if I can find the orders. News, presidential actions, executive orders. I see 2 of them here. All right, so before we go, let's go ahead and take a look at these. All right, so again, all you got to do is go to the whitehouse.gov and you can find things. And these are under the executive orders. And so we've got extending the modification for reciprocal tariff rates and ending market distorting subsidies for unreliable foreign controlled energy sources. Those were the 2 today. I don't see the one about the hiring freeze, but we can check another page. Finding market distorting subsidies for unreliable foreign controlled sources. Let's see how long this is. Oh, that's a pretty long one, so you guys can go ahead and read it. But he signed that today, and rapidly eliminates market distortions and cost imposed on taxpayers by so-called green energy. Oh, so he's just repealing some of the green energy stuff. And this one here, extending the modification of the tariffs back to August 1st. Again, that was not too long, but you can see that. And I'm looking now, let me go back to memoranda and see if there's anything about, okay, there's another one here, ensuring accountability and prioritizing public safety and federal hiring. This is the other one that he was talking about. For the heads of executive departments and agencies, by the authority vested in me by the Constitution, by the laws, the hiring of federal civilian employees within the executive branch through October 15. No federal civilian position that is presently vacant may be filled, and no new position may be created, except as otherwise deemed. So, as of right now, until October 15th, there will be no federal civilian employees. Saving money and also cutting away the fat from the deep state. Gotta love that. Gotta love that one. Very good, very good. All right, so crazy night. A lot of pissed off people, a lot of, trolls and everything. SV and the mods were having to do a lot of work. Thank you guys for doing everything that you did. I will see you at 10:30 tomorrow because that's when the cabinet meeting is. So here comes the after party. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And don't let people get you down. Be positive, positive, positive.